And happy Easter Monday, Mark Oppold, as we begin this week heading through mid-April. And thanks for joining us, whether watching RFD-TV, tuning in on Rural Radio, channel 147 on Sirius XM. Joining us to start the day, most every day here now on Market Day Report. Great to have him on our team is Rich Nelson, our friends at Allendale. Rich, hope you had a good Easter weekend with family and friends.
I sure did. All safe, happy, and good times.
There we go. All right, let's get after it here this morning here. By the way, give us kind of a weather update. Kind of a lot of times what happens around Chicago, the trade sinks. If it's raining in Chicago, it must be raining everywhere. So what's the weather in around Chicago area this morning?
Biggest news event is things turned fantastic for us on the weather side over the weekend. We had temperatures reaching into the 60s for us, which is a great deal. Oftentimes, people wearing T-shirts and, in fact, some shorts showing up as well this past weekend.
How about that? Get that tan started here. All right. Otherwise, weather-wise, crop progress coming this afternoon. And, well, I think we include soybean planting for the first time. Maybe one more week away from that, I believe, now that I remember.
No, that's exactly right. In terms of the trade's focus, this will be still on the idea of corn and spring wheat as well as winter wheat conditions for this particular report here.
What's Allendale looking at for national corn planting progress?
So on that side, national corn last week was, of course, about 3% complete, right. And the trade called that maybe it's a little disappointing. In terms of this week's number, not too much of a change compared to the 5-year average. We'll be right at maybe 6 to 8% complete. We're saying 7 for our number.
All right, very good. Also, we have the NOPA crush and the soybean trade. Is there a number that you're looking for here? What a little disappointing here a month ago.
Yeah, that's right. We did see from one of the news wires an average guess of 156.7 million bushels per acre, or million bushels, I should say, for March soybean crush. That'd be unchanged with last year, but still, as a whole, maybe a little disappointing. We want to see these numbers about 2%, 3% higher than last year.
Now, obviously, we each week we get deeper into the weather market, if you will, and getting things in the ground here. Tim Ross is showing us here weather that looks a lot cooler in that northern belt as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday here. It's not going to warm things up as far as soil temperatures.
That's right. And a lot of guys in these in the central and certainly the northern third of the Corn Belt are maybe a little behind on what would be some still fieldwork-based issues here for us. So we are not going to get this problem fixed up here this week or certainly the next week and a half. So we will have slightly behind normal conditions for probably the next week or two up ahead here.
And so look at the corn and December. Again, it's not that big wouldn't be that big a shock to see $4 corn for a new crop December, as we're already within 5-6 cents of there.
And that's exactly right. For a delayed planting time, when the markets do like to recognize delayed plantings or slow plantings, this is certainly an issue which we can see this market pushing back above $4. Our overall target we discussed before was actually $4.18 for the spring rally. Let's see if it hits it or not in this case.
Yeah, very good. Appreciate that. And then a quick look at a target in soybeans here. We'll get another couple of weeks before we even get a first look at soybean planting. So there's still a lot of calendar there, but still always kind of fun to look at November, closing in on the 970 level as we went ahead to the holiday.
That sure is right. In terms of overall pricing, we don't see much of a big jump there for soybeans, though, different than our corn forecast. In fact, we can argue maybe getting back to that, like you mentioned, 970 up into the 980 range for this spring rally. At this point, we don't see it carrying over on the soybean side.
Yeah, really. $10 may be a really pretty good ceiling in there right now. Rich Nelson joining us here from Allendale. He is their chief strategist, and we're going to take a break, come back, and see what he thinks about the livestock trade opening up here in a few minutes as well on this Easter Monday. Be right back. Twenty minutes after the hour, and that means 10 minutes away from opening our livestock trade on this Easter Monday. And helping us get started on the day, Rich Nelson from Allendale. And Rich, looking at that cattle trade, you and I were talking that really there was a pretty wide range of cattle prices here, cash and the carcass trade. But overall, some of those top-end prices weren't all that bad compared to what people were thinking.
It really was not. You got to say that Thursday's cash cattle trade was a winner, and we did see some carryover action on Friday as well, just a few thousand head there. 128s we're seeing Kansas through Texas. That'd be up from last week's 125 and 126. Over on the Nebraska side, we actually saw some cash trade there. I want to say even that, what is that, 130s, in fact, 120, yeah, 128s to 130. So pretty good there is Nebraska.
Saw that well. And looks like weights, we keep track of those slaughter weights. And those numbers look like they're coming down. So it looks like producers are current.
That's exactly right here. Actually, weights fell from 814 to now 810, and these are pounds per average carcass. And these numbers are actually 2.4% under last year. So we do have a good current market situation here for these feedlots in terms of short-term market supply.
Have the monthly cattle on feed report coming up here on Friday. So even though we're just getting started for the week here, we look ahead to the end of the week. It comes out after the close of trade on Friday. I haven't seen any trade estimates here. Have you seen anything, Rich?
No, in terms of this, most news wires are going to ask for estimates by probably Tuesday around noon. So most analysts will be finishing up with sending them estimates here today and tomorrow morning.
Yeah, exactly. But, based on the last estimate here and the last report, rather, trade looking for a lot more cattle, though, coming here into the second quarter, into third.
And that's definitely a big question for us here, the available numbers, and also how many have been pulled ahead of those, quote-unquote, pulled ahead in active marketings ones. So that's certainly a big question for us.
Then looking at the hog trade here, again, we're about 8 minutes away from opening our futures. But, Rich, now some of these plants here, they take off Good Friday, some take off Holy Saturday, but there are some, I understand, that are closed even here on Easter Monday.
That's right. The nation's largest hog kill plant, the Smithfield Tar Heel, North Carolina plant, that one will be down here. It was, in fact, down Friday and today. In this case, they call it for planned maintenance. So we will see maybe a slightly reduced interest for us right now. But in terms of the big picture, we're still looking ahead for this potential seasonal change on pricing.
Very good. Rich, thanks for getting us started here this morning. We look forward to keeping in touch. In fact, we'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
We will too. Rich Nelson from Allendale, their chief strategist, joining us to get started each and every day here on Market Day Report. Take a look at that cash cattle trade. As he mentioned here, numbers that were pretty wide range in cash cattle prices here, both cash and a carcass. But they were, again, the top end of those ranges were a little higher than expected. Now, on the cash side of things, we saw a cash cattle trade at 124 to 130, and these are late trades. Moderate trade that came late on Friday, and carcass at 200 to 208. Look at the beef cutout higher to start the day. We'll have an update here in 2 or 3 hours here, midday as always. But we start the day here with that choice at 212 and the select summary there at 199. We'll have Ed Serwin joining us here and get an update tomorrow on that box beef trade.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Appreciate that.